Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bio. Today I'm joined by Topher Morrison, who is the founder of Personofi, a firm that specialises in brand messaging for small business owners. He's the author of 4 best-selling books and was voted one of the top 10 business speakers in Tampa Bay. In 2017, he was one of 3 finalists for Business Leader of the Year through the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce. Topher's extensive speaking career spanning over 30 years has earned him a global reputation as an expert in mass communication and influence. He's spoken for top executives at American Express, Microsoft, and Google, to name just a few. So, Topher, in the context of raising your profile, it is often helpful to be able to pitch for opportunities. So this might be to drive people to your podcast, to get onto somebody else's podcast, or to promote your book, or it could be anything really. And I know that you have an awesome partnership pitch that can be used for those exact things. So can you tell me more about this pitch?
Yeah, sure. I don't know how awesome it is, but I've certainly used it many times in the past and it's worked quite well for me. And it's done 2 things. Number 1, it's got me some really great partnerships, but number 2, it's kept me from getting into some really bad ones. And I really think that's one that people overlook a lot. They're so excited to create these strategic partnerships, and they almost get a little bit blind on whether or not they should even get into that partnership in the first place. So I think that's something else we should address as well in terms of like how do you get out of something like that? So from a partnership pitch, let's start by what not to do, right? How many times, Sophie, have you got an email, probably on LinkedIn, from somebody who says something like this? Hey, Sophie, I've been following what you're doing and I'm really impressed. And then it goes into a pitch. We offer blah, blah, blah. We'd like to do something, right? I probably get 10 to 15 of those
Same.
emails a day, and they are so horrible, right? So the first thing is to avoid generic false flattery that doesn't actually say anything, like, I've been following what you're doing. I love the work you do. You've really got some great content. All of that stuff is really just BS. And what it does is it screams, I haven't taken the time to research you enough to actually give you a real compliment, right? So a real compliment would be something like, Sophie, I've been listening to your podcast and I really love the interview with Dan Bradbury talking about masterminds, right? Something like that, where now holy heck, this guy actually did his homework, right? So the first thing is, if you're opening up with some sort of flattery, and I'm not even saying, by the way, you have to do that, but if you do it, don't waste your time with empty flattery. Find something very specific that you can compliment them on. And then if you can go one step further and tell them why you really liked it. Right. So, yeah, I've been listening to your podcast and I specifically heard the one with Dan Bradbury. And the reason why I really like that is because he was like a no frills, no bullshit, just straight to the point kind of guy. That's how I am as well. Right. Something like that.
I'm smiling because not only have I got an inbox of LinkedIn messages saying exactly starting like that,
Right.
but I've also recently, I think as the podcasts started to do pretty well, I get a lot of pitches from maybe PR agents about pitching their clients to be on the show. And they always say, I love your show, blah, blah, blah. And it makes me laugh because it is really insincere. And they obviously haven't listened to the show at all because they're pitching their client with a specific theme, but it's something that is totally not a fit for the show. So they kind of really actually do not represent their clients very well in that situation. So, yeah, I'm smiling. So that's definitely what not to do for sure.
Right. The next thing is when you get into the actual offer, one of the things, like also, by the way, avoid the phrase mutually beneficial relationship. That's just been overplayed so much time, right? Here's what I recommend. When you go in, here's the pitch that I use. I start off with a specific compliment and a specific reason why I liked it, just like I did. But then I say this, I say something to the effect of either in person, over the phone, over Zoom, or in email. It doesn't matter. This works both spoken and written. Or by the way, on video, if you create it like a Loom video for them to watch, right? All of it would work. And it goes something to the effect of like this. I'm thinking we might be able to create a strategic partnership, but I love your opinion. I look for partners that possess 3 specific things. Number 1, they have to have an excellent brand reputation. Number 2, they have to have an outstanding product or service. And number 3, they have to have significant distribution to where I know that if we involve in a partnership, they're going to be able to get the message out as good as I can.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah.
right? And then you say, so my hunch is based upon blank, 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 your brand is the type of brand that I want to associate with. Based upon blank, 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 your product, I Googled your reviews and you have nothing but 5-star reviews. This indicates to me you've got a great product or service, right? And then number 3, I've been following you on Instagram or YouTube, and I noticed that you've been getting well over 10,000 views on every one of your videos. So I feel that you've got the distribution we're looking for. Now, if those are the things that I look for in a strategic partner, it's only fair that you ask me how I rank on those 3 as well. So if you're still reading and still interested, here's my stats.
Nice.
And then I go through my brand reputation, my product reputation, and then my distribution numbers, like how many I have on the mailing list or how many people subscribers I have total in social media, that kind of thing. And that's it, right? And that's enough for a sophisticated business owner to go, I like this. This person's done their research. They've also told me what benefits I'm going to get because I know they've got 100,000 subscribers. I know they've got a great reputation, And then, by the way, if you have the ability, like you've published a book, it's always a nice touch to say, P.S., I've already FedExed you a copy of my latest book. It should be arriving today. Please look for a FedEx delivery. Something like that. It was just a nice little subtle touch.
I like that a lot. I'm already thinking of people I want to send that email to. Already, I've got a few people in mind where I think that would work really well around some of the stuff I'm doing.
By the way, I want to make sure I roll some credits here so people don't think that I'm the genius behind this. While that's my pitch, I took that content or that criteria from somebody that you well know, Daniel Priestley. He was the one who really kind of formulated those are the 3 critical criteria for great partnerships. So I do want to roll some credits to Daniel Priestley from Dent. He's an amazing man, great entrepreneur, and I know you're familiar with his work.
Yeah, I am. I was spoken about Dan quite a bit. I need to get him on the show, actually, but that is really cool. What about if someone is listening who is just starting out and they're not as advanced as you and they haven't quite got that audience or they haven't got the book or whatever? How, can they still adapt the pitch or do they need to do something completely different for their approach?
Well, there's 2 ways to answer that. Number 1 is if they're so new and they're looking for strategic partnerships, that might be a bit premature. What they really probably should be doing is starting to establish those 3 elements as quickly as they possibly can before they reach out for a partnership arrangement. And the second thing I would add to that is this. The best partnerships are the ones that you don't have to ask for, but they come to you for. So a more strategic play is to actually build up those 3 things to such a level that people start reaching out to you and wanting the partnerships, because it's way easier to filter out the bad ones when they're approaching you than if you're approaching them. Your biases are completely off and you think they're great because you want to reach out to them. So yes, you can. You do have to modify it a bit. And the modification you can say, I'm looking for strategic partners that possess 2 of these 3 categories. Right. And then you go through the same thing, all 3 of them. And then you point out the 2 that you think they have, the third one that you're not so sure about, you'd love their opinion. And then you go through yours and you point out the 2 that you feel are your strongest and the third that you think is weakest, and how you feel that their weak one. And by the way, you can't have 2 similar weak ones, right? So if that person is weak in distribution and you're weak in distribution, you're going to have 2 great brands with 2 great products and nobody's going to hear
no one's going to know.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, I like that. And then actually, that's being very genuine around how you can support each other in that sense.
Yes.
As well,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because too many people try making it look like it's just going to be the best thing in the world for you, and they're doing it out of their own altruistic beliefs, and it's just so fake, right? So authenticity does go quite a ways.
Agreed. So can you give me an example of where you've used this pitch and had a great result for yourself or maybe someone that you've worked with or that you know?
Yeah, sure. So one of them was with Kevin Harrington, who was one of the original sharks on the TV show Shark Tank. I used this pitch specifically to reach out to him to have him become a partner in a brand acceleration program that we offered here in the States for a while. And even though we're not doing that business anymore, we're still great friends to this day. Anytime I need something or I want to offer something for him, I reach out and we have a great relationship, and it all stayed. And by the way, that's a guy who's heard thousands of pitches because of the TV show Shark Tank, right?
Of course.
So, when a guy like that goes, that's one of the best pitches I've ever heard, it nails well. Yeah.
And when you're sending it out to him or other people, is that the first contact that you have with them you're going in straight away with that. I mean, it is
Can be.
powerful. So yeah.
Yeah, it can be. It was, in this case, it was. Now, granted, for somebody of that stature, there was a mutual connection. So there was a person to make that. It wasn't totally cold out of the blue sending him an email. But honestly, I think it probably would have worked just as well had I been able to get through to him anyway on a cold email. Yeah.
And do you find emails tend to be better, or are you doing it through social media? Or I mean, I'm really struggling with LinkedIn at the moment because I get so many messages on there, I just lose them. And I always say every Friday I'm going to have the housekeeping on LinkedIn and keep on top of it, and then I don't, and then I miss stuff that actually is good, which frustrates me. So I don't know, maybe email is better than socials.
Well, the reality is the landscape changes so rapidly now because people just go into systems so quick. It's hard for me to even tell you what I think the best one would be. But I'm kind of like the suspenders and belt guy when it comes to making sure you're doing everything you can to be as connected as possible. So, I'm for an email, a phone call, a Loom video, like hit them on all levels because you may not know what their preferred is. And the reality is one of two things are going to happen. They're going to hear from you on all three, in which case you're either going to annoy them or impress them. That's the risk you take. Most commonly, they're not going to see you in two of the three and only see you in the one. And you just finally got lucky on the one that you used.
That's a great point, because I think that is always a bit of a concern as to whether you're going to be sort of too much for somebody. But I guess you've got to be in it to win it, right? You've got to just go for it.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So I'm thinking about two specific examples of things where I would be liking to pitch to people at the moment. Give me a bit of advice on these two examples.
Sure. Okay.
Right? So
all right.
They're both book related. So my third book is coming out in August, and it's linked to this podcast. It's called From Unknown to Unforgettable: How to Build a Personal Brand.
Nice, good name.
That goes beyond the bio. So it's ready to go. Dan's doing me a praise quote, so he'll be in there somewhere. And two things that I'm wanting to pitch around that at the moment are, one, I'm going to do 3 book launches in the UK, so Newcastle, Manchester and London. And I've just put together a sponsorship pack, so I'm looking to get a sponsor for the launch. That's one thing. And then my other thing is around how do I encourage people to promote the book?
Got it. Okay, so sponsorship package is a partnership package. So this pitch works perfectly for reaching out to those corporations that you want to sponsor the events. And then the other one was, how do you get other people to promote the book? Okay, that's a good question. Well, I think one of the easiest ways is to get them as a guest on your show. If there's somebody that you feel is worthy of if you go, man, that's somebody that I would love to have their endorsement and their promotion of, chances are that's also somebody that you'd love to have on the show. Number one, right? So if they've not already been on the show, get them on the show, because then by the very nature of their own personal ego, they're going to promote your book because, well, they were a guest on your show. If they've already been on your show, make sure you remind them of that to bring up that element of reciprocity. Oh, that's right. She did put me on her show. Yeah, sure. I'll promote the book for her. I'll give her a plug or something. Mm-hmm.
That's a good shout. I could write a nice sort of handwritten note that goes alongside the book to send out to them. And
yeah, well, and I'll also be willing to write a really nice endorsement on their behalf with their name on it.
Yeah.
I know it's a really bold thing, but you know this, right? Those kind of individuals are also really busy. They got a lot going on. And while they want to help you, they're battling all the other things they've got to go. And if you said, hey, listen, I understand you're really busy, so I've taken the liberty of actually being so bold as to write a review for you, but please know this is only a launch pad, and I'd love for you to put your own personal flavor and touch on it, or scrap the whole thing and write something from your heart.
Yeah, it gives them the options, doesn't it? Yeah, I like that a lot. Back to the thing around the sponsorship pack, because I've got these 3 events, I'm really taught, and I think this is why I've been putting off doing too much with it, is because I want to be genuine in whoever. I don't just want to sponsor for the sake of it. It's got to be a good fit, which actually ties in well to that approach and being personal and being genuine and things.
Yes.
But the other challenge I have is that other people's priorities and timelines are different from my own. So if I just approach people kind of one at a time, then I might miss the boat because I might not get one quick enough. But if I then send a few out, it doesn't feel as authentic because I'm then saying to a bunch of people, oh, I really want you. So what would you do in that situation?
Okay, so here's a great strategy for that. You can actually use a little bit of scarcity and also, once again, being authentic. We have this event. We're looking for 3 sponsors. I have 7 in my sights, and you're one of those 7. right? Now you've been
Nice.
transparent up front.
And that would be true as well.
It would be very
That
true,
would be
right?
genuine.
It's completely authentic. And then all of a sudden, if you get 6 people to reach out, you can go, gosh, you know what? I am absolutely honored that you have been willing to do this. I already said yes to the first 3 who responded. However, the fact that you want to do this, maybe we could arrange something very special. And then maybe you would do a 4th one in a different city.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm going to do that. That's on my to-do list for next week now. I'm going to take that approach for sure. Awesome. It's been so cool talking to you and being able to pick your brain about this partnership pitch. I really love it. Anyone listening that's not already connected with you, where's the best place for them to find you? Is it LinkedIn?
God, no, I'll ignore them. I social media, I'm the worst with social media. Admittedly, I really am. I check LinkedIn maybe once a week, and it's just for the sake of accepting the connections, answering a couple emails, and then I'm done with it. And I probably should get better at that one. And then I have a hate relationship with Facebook, and I hate it, and I hate it, and I hate it, but I still have it. Just go to tophermorrison.com. Yeah, it's probably the easiest thing.
Okay, we'll pop that in the show notes to make it super easy for people. And yeah great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening. If you're serious about growing your profile, take our free profile assessment quiz to see where you're at right now and get hints and tips on how to improve your score. You'll find the link to the quiz in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the episode, it would be mint if you'd subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next Monday.